there. Here it comes.
All right.
Here we are. We're live.
All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to a very unusual and special episode of Sports Jabber Radio, Cowboys Pride Radio, Big Blue Radio, Gone TV. My name is Mark Yonda. I've been your host on Sports Jabber and Cowboys Pride Radio over the years, joined with Larry Lytle, who was also a Cowboys Pride host, and our good friend John Tesler, who is a huge Giants fan. You might know him from the old days as Reverie Rohde. We're going to talk a little bit about the football schedule tonight. We're going to talk about the sports world, such as it is, and how likely we think that football will come back this year. We might be joined by some other guests as we go along, but I want to say that our primary reason for doing this after such a long time is we want to pay some homage to some friends of ours that are no longer with us. The old janitor, Reg. If you ever went to sportsjabber.com or .net, I should say. Boy, Deb would shoot me. If you ever went to sportsjabber.net in the old days, you'll remember Reg. He was always around. Big Lakers fan, mighty, mighty Lakers, and big Cowboys fan. So we're going to talk about Reg's Cowboys today. And then we had a sad anniversary last week with the anniversary of the phenomenal TJ's passing. And so we're going to talk about TJ's Steelers, and then who can forget our friend Scott and his love for the New York Jets. So those are the three teams we're going to highlight. We're going to talk about some of the other big games that are going to happen this season. We're going to talk about whether we think the season's going to happen at all. But first, we're going to start out by just talking about what we think of the sports landscape as it has changed under the COVID-19 reality. So, Larry, I'll let you go first. What's it meant to you? How bad has it been?
Well, I usually watch sports very regularly. So college basketball was a big thing. Losing the tournament was a huge blow for what I normally spend 3 weeks of March and April doing. And then baseball comes in, and I'm a big baseball fan. So it's been a big loss as far as that entertainment value that I'm always looking for. Now, I found other things to do. I've been keeping busy, but I would love to have my sports back. But
yeah, I definitely get it. I mean, as this stuff was all breaking, I actually caught an Australian rules football game late night, and they were still playing the league, but they were playing it without any fans in the stands, and it was. I mean, I remember we were talking about maybe they'd do March Madness without the fans in the stands and how weird that would be. But it was surreal. It was really, really unusual. What about you, John? How's it affected you?
Well, I mean, I'm a big hockey fan, so
yeah.
I mean, I was definitely into the NHL because the New York Rangers were making a big push to make the playoffs, and the bottom fell out. And then I'm a huge baseball fan also. So, we're a couple of weeks, we were less than a week and a half, 2 weeks before the season started, and they dragged the rug right out from under that. And now they're talking about starting up again in July with like a 100-game season just to get something in. So, and then of course, college football is saying, we don't know what's going to happen on college campuses because, they've got 100,000 seat stadiums to fill. But the NFL seems like it's just plugging along, and September's going to come, and they're ready to go.
Yeah, they really do believe they're. I mean, and let's be honest with this about the NFL. I mean, first of all, they are the elephant in the room, or the 800-pound gorilla, whatever you want to call them. I mean, they are the big boys. But they've just been so uncannily lucky with all of this because they managed to finish off their season. We had started hearing about COVID-19 in China, but we didn't have any idea how the impact it was going to have. It moved over to the U.S. in early February, which is right about the time we had the Super Bowl. And there's a story out there about how lucky the San Francisco area what actually turned out to be, because the Niners didn't win. If they would have had the huge parade with the problems they already ended up having, that could have been a disaster. But they've just kind of moved all the way through it. We've had the draft. It's been the one big sports story in the short term. And then, now, like you said, John, I mean, we're pushing forward towards September, and who knows, by the time we get there, we may not see much of a change, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. Larry, have you had any chance to see what the Cowboys are doing? I'm looking at their website right now, and I'm trying to find their schedule, but you may be a little more familiar with this than I am.
I don't have their schedule yet, but I know who they're playing this year.
All right, well, let's talk about that. Let's start there.
Well, it's been reported they've got the third easiest schedule in the NFL this year. Of course, they're playing the NFC East, and I think the Giants and the Redskins are going to be a lot better, both of those teams this year. So I don't think the
just
schedule is
up to John now. That you're just sucking
Well, I actually do. I look at it and go, I really think we're going to have a little more competition. We do have Jana joining us. Let's bring her in also.
All right, awesome.
Hey, Jana.
Hey, Jana.
Hi, guys.
Glad to have you with
Jana.
us.
Well, this looks safe.
As soon as she gets in.
I'm driving home.
There we go.
Oh man, so how's life down in the sunny area of Arizona, my friend?
Hot. Hot. Fucking hot. Oh, am I allowed to say that? Hot.
Oh man, I don't envy you.
104, something like that today. I don't even know.
Wow,
Hot.
that is hot.
Well, we were just talking about the Cowboys opponents, and I know you're a big Cowboys fan. Larry, you talked about how you thought that the Giants and the Redskins would be better. What else do you see on that schedule? We don't have the actual dates yet. We're still looking for that. But
Okay.
what do you think? What else do you think about that situation?
I just carefully beat the Eagles just because I hate the Eagles that much. No,
I'm with you.
I don't know. Redskins are going to be better this year. I don't know how great or how much better the Giants will be. I mean, a little better, but they couldn't really get much worse either, to be fair.
All right. Well, I do know that the first game, because I managed to find that, is the all right, here I've got the whole schedule now in front of me. So there's the preseason schedule. The Cowboys open at the LA Rams.
I just was seeing that too. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Falcons at home, then at the Seahawks. So you're going to be 2-0 going out to Seattle.
Okay.
We hope so.
Then you get another bye week against the Browns. and then John's Giants come to town. John, what
Yes,
are you
they
looking for? What are you looking for from the Giants this year?
I'm looking for they concentrated on their offensive line during the draft, which they needed to do, and they finally did. They signed Bradbury at cornerback to help shore up the back end. They drafted a bunch of linebackers towards the end of the draft. So, I mean, I'm expecting the Giants' defense to be better, but I'm also expecting the Giants' offense to be better. Of course, Daniel Jones is in his second year, so whether he has the sophomore slump or not, he's going to do better, of course. Hopefully, Barkley can stay healthy all year. The wide receivers will stay healthy this year. So, but I'm looking for them to be better. Of course, the Cowboys just basically stole Andy Dalton from everybody by signing him as a backup to Dak
We did.
Prescott. So they've pretty much got the best, pretty much have the best backup in the NFC East right now. So that helps them. So I think the NFC East is going to be better. I don't believe the Eagles are going to be very good this year. I just don't.
Really? Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, I just don't think they can. I just don't think they can go far with Wentz because he's too injury prone.
Well, and that very well could be true. I mean, it's a difficult situation for him the way that he's been playing. I mean, he's had to overcome injuries in the past few years, and then of course they had Nick Foles there, and now Foles is gone, and he's joining us up here in the NFC North with the Bears. So the Mitchell Trubisky era is apparently over in Chicago. But it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do there in Philadelphia without, if Wentz goes down again, what they're going to be able to cobble together behind him.
That's why they drafted a quarterback in the second round, even though it seemed weird. I
bad for Wentz. Like, he just can't stay healthy.
I agree.
So I'm looking at the Cowboys schedule here, and the thing that strikes me at the beginning of the season is, let's see, by week 8, I guess that's not that unusual. You're through everything on your schedule, all the divisional teams, and then it looks like you get the Redskins at the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Always nice. That's always a traditional matchup. I miss the old days of Landry and George Allen and those guys. That was always a fun time. And then you finish out the season with 2 divisional games. Well, actually, you got 3 relatively tough games, considering 2 of them are divisional to finish out. Niners at home, Eagles at home, and then at the Giants.
Yeah, that's going to be key.
They always like to stick those divisional games right at the end.
They do.
Ones, just to keep it interesting.
Well, and playing San Francisco week 15 is going to be tough because they're going to still be good. They went to the Super Bowl and they could be heading back there again. So that's going to be a tough matchup. And then you have to go in and beat the Eagles and then go to New York and win. And that's always a rough road. But, we do have some other easy opponents, the Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers maybe even this year. So, I think the Cardinals, I think, are going to be better. But the Rams on paper look like they'll probably be a lot worse. It should be a pretty easy schedule overall, but we're going to have to prove it because there's some teams that come out and beat you every week. So
now, honest opinion, because I've got 3 NFC East fans with me here. Who wins the NFC East?
Cowboys.
Larry?
I'm going to go Cowboys also. They should have won it last year now, partially because Philadelphia was injured, but I think coaching makes a difference, and I think adding CD is going to be a huge play on our offense. So our defense is going to have to step up, and like I said, I think the Giants and the Redskins will be better. I don't know they're going to be better enough to really be challenging. So I look at it as a race between the Cowboys and the Eagles, but you never know.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Well, I don't know. I'm not really ready to predict who wins the NFC East, but looking at the Giants' schedule, they will either be in the playoff race at the end of by the time they hit the bye week, or they'll be done because the Giants' schedule, they open with Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football at home. And then they play the Bears, the Niners, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Redskins, the Eagles, Tampa Bay, Washington, and the Eagles again.
Wow.
So out of the first 10 weeks, they have 9 NFC games. And
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in the division.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be.
So they're either going to be in the playoff race or they're going to be done
Yeah, that's a brutal schedule.
before they hit the bye week.
Yeah, and I feel, I'm looking at myself in camera here. I feel like I owe the viewing audience a little bit of an explanation on this particular look. See, I have a part-time job in December where I say "ho" a lot, and it has nothing to do with promiscuous women. And the bottom line is, I was supposed to go to a conference for other men who wear red like I do. At the end of April, so I was set up to get the beard trimmed at the end of March, get prettied up and everything like that. And I'd left it a little bit long. Yeah, I'm about 8 weeks past where I should have had this thing cut off. So if you feel like you're watching Duck Dynasty, you're
Mark,
not really.
you should have rated it as a Viking. That would have been great.
I have recently. You get bored, man. So yeah, we did that recently, but yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a little bit of a while before I get in to get this thing trimmed off. But once I do, I'll get back to my summer cut, which is right up about here. So a little bit more, normal looking, I guess. So, but for right now, it's kind of fun. It irritates my boss. So what can you do? All right, shall we move on and talk a little bit about the Steelers for TJ?
Yeah, let's talk Steelers. Yeah,
I miss the phenomenal one. His sense of humor was always cutting edge and just dark and funny. He was a great guy to talk to. So as John mentioned, the Monday Night Football opener is TJ's Steelers at John's Giants. On ESPN, and then they've got it all depends, of course, on how these teams rebound. But I think I think their first 3 games are pretty winnable, honestly, including the Giants game. They've got the Broncos at home and then the Texans at home, and I don't know what Bill O'Brien is doing with the Houston Texans. I don't really understand the plan there.
I don't think he understands the plan there, to be honest.
But what strikes me about this is, unlike the other schedule, the Cowboys and even the Giants schedule, they don't really play a lot of divisional opponents right off the bat, which I think is kind of interesting. They don't actually see a divisional opponent until week 6 against the Browns.
Wow.
And then they've got the Browns at Baltimore, at Dallas, and then they come home to Cincinnati. So, yeah, I think that's kind of an unusual situation especially with the season where we're not exactly sure what we're going to get.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That is a weird schedule. Usually you'd think by week 6 you've played at least 2, if not 3 divisional opponents.
Exactly. And, especially in this year where they're talking about having a more flexible schedule where they might be able to cut games out or cut games off. I mean, we kind of expected, or at least I did. I was led to believe. I'll go with that. I was led to believe. I was misled. Fake news. No, I was led to believe that they're going to try to backload the schedule with divisional opponents, so that if they had to cut a couple of weeks off, the divisional races would pretty much already be decided, and those last couple of games might not matter too much. But even looking at their schedule towards the end, yeah, they've got at the Bengals on the 21st of December, but then they have the Colts at home, and then they go to the Browns to finish out the year. So strange times indeed.
Very much.
What do we think? Is Roethlisberger going to be 100% back this year?
I don't know.
He keeps talking like
He
he's
seems
going
have
to be.
lost some of his mojo.
Well, considering his off-season workout is like beers and other things, who knows?
Yeah.
That
They
sounds
had
like
that
my
big
on
article
season.
about him drinking beer as part of his off-season workout routine. I mean, okay, if that's how you want to prepare for the season,
Yeah. Well, and he and I are in that beard growing contest, so I wonder. I mean, he was of the three of them that were drafted together. Him, Eli, and Philip Rivers. I always kind of thought he would be the one who would who we wouldn't remember. For football deeds. I mean, we remember him for off-field stuff like the motorcycle crash and other stuff, and that we don't need to talk about here. But I mean, the bottom line is he's been a much better quarterback in the NFL than I expected from him coming out of. Now I'm losing the Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
He's been a much better quarterback than I really expected him to be at the pro level. He's been surrounded by some really good talent. But I don't know how good the talent is there this year.
Yeah, I don't know who he's throwing the ball to.
Who do they have?
Well, let's see.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, who? I'm racking my brain right now. And I'm like,
Washington is still there, I think.
Like any other team you can name, like a great player, surrounded by the quarterback. I can't think of anybody right now. Like my mind is blank.
No, let's see here. Their team. Let's go to the team page. That'll probably tell me who's on the team, right?
It should.
So we've got a bunch of guys I've never heard of. Let's see if I get to somebody I know.
Well, and that's what I was seeing also. A bunch of people.
Yeah, they've drafted Chase Claypool, who might be pretty good. They've got let's see, Zach Gentry. Devlin Hodges, as I recall, was good last year. But yeah, there's not a lot of big names on this team.
There's not. Yeah.
So it does make you wonder, can he put it together? Can Ben put it together like Tom Brady always did? And Juju Smith-Schuster, I forgot about him.
Okay.
He's legitimate. He's a legitimate deep threat.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have Ryan Switzer as the other wide receiver. So the receivers are going to be okay. It's just a question of, are they going to be able to? Are they really going to be able to put it all together like Brady used to cobble together whatever stuff got thrown his way from the front office at New England? And I honestly, I don't know. I mean, they're in that division with the Baltimore Ravens, and the Ravens were just fantastic last year. I kind of feel like the Ravens might have a hangover the way they got knocked out of the playoffs. But on the other hand, it could go the other way, and they could come back gangbusters. I'm not really looking for much from the Browns or the Bengals, but that's because this is a year. So.
No, I'm with you. I think Baltimore is legit.
Roethlisberger is no Brady. I don't think he can do what Brady did with no names. Brady's
you look. Yeah, you look at their Super Bowl years, with Roethlisberger, and I mean, you had Santonio Holmes, you had Antonio Brown. I mean, those were the big receivers that he had at the time, and I just don't see anybody like that on the roster at this point.
Not at all.
So, John, you got any thoughts on the Steelers?
I mean, their division isn't really. I mean, you look at who else they have in the division: Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore. I mean, the question really becomes what other teams are going to step up? I mean, this is year 3 for Cleveland with Baker Mayfield. He's got to do something because if not, that's another first round quarterback that they basically blew, and now they're going to have to get somebody else.
Right.
Baltimore's got the reigning MVP in Lamar Jackson, so I mean, you know they're going to be good this year. I mean, Cincinnati, we know they're rebuilding. Sorry to say, but they are. So, I mean, the only people that are really going to have a problem for Pittsburgh is going to be Baltimore. I don't think I mean, this is a make or break year for, like I said, this is a make or break year for Cleveland because they've got all the weapons. They've got Odell Beckham Jr. They've got a decent defense. So if they don't, finish with an above 500 record, what does that say for Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
Does he become the guy that they wasted the first round pick on again? And they go away from him or what?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's a tough deal. I mean, I have a soft spot for the Browns. I always kind of like the Browns, just because of their ancient history with Otto Graham, and it may surprise you. It was before I was born, but still, it was just they were an amazing team. I loved Bernie Kosar, and those guys, and I even liked the Brian Sipe years. It was kind of fascinating because they'd do well in the odd numbered years, and the even numbered years they'd suck, and it just kind of went like that for like 4 or 5 years. It was fun to watch, but I don't have any feeling that they're really gonna. That the Browns are going to do anything, that Baker Mayfield's going to do anything. So I think you're right. I mean, I think this comes down to, can the Steelers step up to where the Ravens were last year? And if not, is this just going to be a walk-off for the Ravens?
I almost feel like it will be.
It certainly was last year when Ben got hurt. I mean, once Ben got hurt, it was over.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good to do we want to move on to I know what we want to do now. Larry, do you have that statement from Ray? We should really read that.
Yeah, let's read that. And this, of course, is about Reg, who we talked about a little bit earlier. And Ray was a little emotional with this, understandably, because she really viewed Reg as a father for her. She referred to him as grandpa, but he was really a father figure to her. So, and she's been going through some other stuff. So bear with it as I read it here. It says, "Hey man, I know it's 2 a.m. I haven't forgotten to write up something for the show. I just have had a really hard time with this thing. I didn't realize it would be this hard. I'm usually pretty good at these things. I've been writing and deleting for about an hour. Probably the circumstances I'm dealing with have all messed up, but I feel I should write something for Gramps. It might be only a few sentences. It's just that every time I try to think of what I want to tell the world about him, I can't. It's just he's just too amazing to describe in a simple way. His laugh was the way he would call his favorite teams mighty, which you mentioned. The way he would then, almost in any situation, in a light moment, it's like that he left a part of Sports Jabber die. It's like when he left, a part of Sports Jabber died too. It's never really was the same, and I can't really express it on the levels I need. Sometimes the things that he would say, like, nah, kill flies with sledgehammers, or cover your ass because no one else is going to do it for you, and come up with and make me happy. I bet a lot of people have Regisms, and maybe you guys can talk about those too. I don't know. Honestly, he was a teacher of a lot of us, a friend, a father, even a rival to some. How he can how can I possibly explain the deep level of impact he had on so many people in like 5 minutes? I can't. Larry, I can't. Nothing I say will ever do Reg justice. Not today, not ever. He's irreplaceable, and frankly, because the things he taught me, in particular the things that I'm going through right now, it's especially hard to talk about him without literally crying. And that's pretty much where she ended it. But I think that expresses a good amount of how I feel about Reg too. He was an amazing guy. He always made you smile. I know Deb had asked me to give Reg a call when Reg was not doing well with his health. And this is before I really became a part of Cowboys Pride and then Sports Jabber. And so I called Reg and started talking to him. And he knew I was going to call. Deb had told him. And by the end of it, he's trying to give me help. Well, do you need this? Well, how can I help you? I'm like, Reg, I'm here to talk about you, man. I'm trying to help you. But he was always very much emotionally giving, very much a friend to everybody. He was a great guy.
Yeah, I remember because I wasn't well, you might be able to tell from my head where I'm a Vikings fan, and the people at Cowboys Pride, which is where I first encountered Reg and Deb, and everybody on this video right now, was a really welcoming sight. Site SITE for those of us on the web to talk sports. And at a certain point, Deb floated the idea of doing a radio show, and I said, well, sure, I mean, because I had done some public access television, so internet radio, frankly, a step up. She asked if I would be willing to host it, and I said, well, I'm not really a Cowboys fan, but let me back that up just a little bit more to how I got the gig. They had someone else who was hosting an internet radio show who was going to talk about the draft, and they needed someone to go on that show and talk about the Cowboys. And I told her I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'll go on and represent them for you if you want me to. And so I did, and they totally bought my act that I was a Cowboys fan. And so I ended up hosting Cowboys Pride Radio for I think it was a year, something like that. And with Doyle as my co-host, who couldn't join us tonight, unfortunately. He wanted to, but he just couldn't be here. But then Reg approached me and said, we're going to start up another site, and it's going to be all sports. It's going to be everything, sportsjabber.net and we want to do a wider ranging sports show. And I said, frankly, that's much more my style because, well, I have a healthy respect for the Cowboys, and I do have a good time giving my Cowboys fans a hard time. It really wasn't a great fit for me. So when I moved over to sportsjabber.net, Reg reached out to me and said, whatever you need, man. And he was accurate. And it didn't matter if it was a soundbite I needed for the show. And my most favorite Reg-ism, to use Ray Ray's phrasing, was "Who'da thunk it?" And I would play that incessantly on Sports Jabber Radio.
I remember that.
And but if I needed a soundbite, if I needed just some advice on what to do, if I was stuck for a guest, he came on and talked about hockey with me. Now, if you remember Reg, he had a limited knowledge about hockey. He understood that it was played on ice with sticks. But we had a very nice time. He was a great guy. And then the other thing I'll tell you is, if you needed a kick in the ass, Reg would give you a kick in the ass too.
He sure would.
But that's
with his 1 foot.
Anyone else? I think Jen is getting comfortable.
Talk
with
about
Luke on
Rick.
Nick.
Yeah, I just got in from work. Sorry.
That's all right. We enjoyed watching the commute home. The
Yeah.
dice flowing back and forth in front of
I
the camera
know.
was fascinating.
My Sun Devil fuzzy dice. Those things always hang in my rearview mirror. Go Devils.
I was going to come down for for Pat's run this year again.
Yeah.
But of course it got canceled.
Right.
And then I ended up having an opposing commitment I would have had to go to anyway because my nephew was going to get married that weekend. So now
Oh.
nothing happened. I didn't have to go anywhere, and
I still did my 4.2 miles on what would have been Pat's run. I just walked the neighborhood.
Just see a really circus freak tall guy walking the course with a shorter woman, because those are my friends that live out
no.
there. He's like
nice.
6'5", and he's crazy.
Yeah,
tall.
I just walked my neighborhood, like in
Oh,
kind of just walked out 2.1 miles and turned around and walked back. And I saw quite a few people running in different previous years' Pat's Run shirts. So
yeah.
that was kind of cool. People doing the same thing, because that's what they said is if you want to honor him still, even though we're not doing Pat's Run today, go to your 4.2 miles. So I did.
Yeah, and this the sad thing for beyond the overall sadness, but the sad thing about this year's Pat's run was this was the last year for the people who were collecting all the interlocking medals. So now they're going to come back next year to get that. So
well, they if you signed up and as long as you committed to still do it virtually, they are actually shipping this week your shirt and your medal and your bib.
awesome. I'll have to ask my friends in Denver if they got them.
Yeah, they're shipping those out. My previous work, who I've ran with the last several years when I was with them, because my son and I were on their team. Our team captain is picking them up. I think he said he should get them Tuesdays. So I'll go to my old job and pick up our shirts and our medals.
Cool. Very
so
cool.
we'll get to complete the big shield with the 4 interlocking.
I only have one of them because I only actually ever did it 1 year. Because I'm old, I'm fat. I'm
oldish and fat.
Yeah, but
so there you go.
And I used to run, do distance running, and I blew out both knees and both ankles. So I don't do that anymore.
I walk.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I pretty much just walked it, but it counts. Damn it.
But what I really miss from the Pat's run with my group of friends is I really miss the brunch at Santan. But that's another story for another time. So anyway, let's move on to the Jets schedule to talk a little bit about our friend Scott, who we lost. Gosh, how long has it been now? Has it been 4 years, 5 years?
Longer, way longer. We lost him.
Longer.
We lost him the year before I lost my friend Michelle to breast cancer, and we lost her in 2012. Cooper's 8, so
wow,
9 years. It's been 9 years for Scott.
I knew it'd been a while.
If I'm mathing right.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't.
So this next year, I think will be 10.
Jeez.
This next January should be 10, if I'm correct in my math.
Wow, that's amazing. How time just goes by so fast.
For sure.
It's just shocking. But there was no bigger Jets fan. I've never met a bigger Jets fan in my life than Scott.
I met one other one. I know one other one. Somebody who recently just passed away. Howard Finkel from WWE, The Fink. He was someone that I
saw your post about him. I saw your post.
He was a friend, and I went back and read some of our email exchanges, and we were talking, him paying for his season tickets for the Jets, and we talked fantasy football, and anytime they were coming to town, he's like, "Hey, we're coming. Do you want tickets?" I saw so many shows and amazing seats for free because of him, and not a lot of people know that because it was always kept hush hush, and it was just my friend. And nothing. I think I actually only met him once, and I met him through another friend of mine who they'd struck up a friendship. Just the sweetest, nicest guy. Nothing, perverted, no ring rat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
just a sweetheart of a man who believed in the product that he, in the company he was employed by, and we lost contact right around the time I got pregnant with Riley, and Riley's 14 now.
Wow.
We kind of got back in contact on Twitter and stuff, and we would chat every once in a while, but not the emails like we used to. But Swedes man, but yeah, probably as big a Jets fan as Scott. Those are the only two that I know that are like diehard Jets fans.
Yeah, I got to tell you, my first piece of NFL memorabilia was a Jets sweatshirt because my mom knew I liked football, and this will date me. Joe Namath was the biggest name in football.
Oh yeah,
and so I got a New York Jets hoodie. She did not know even at that point that I was a Vikings fan, and frankly, I don't think looking back on it, I don't think I would suffer any less heartbreak if I was a Jets fan. So I think I'm okay. But speaking of the Jets, we've got a weird thing with their schedule.
Yeah.
Week 1, they go to the Bills, and then they do not have another division game until week 7 when they host the Bills.
Oh.
So they're gonna see they go 5 weeks in between without seeing a division foe. Then they play the other one, the same one over again, and then they don't see another one until week 10 at the Dolphins, get a bye week, and go and get the Dolphins at home.
Oh wow.
This is a weird schedule.
That is a weird schedule.
Well, they actually get the Patriots in week 9. They're home against the Patriots in week 9.
Oh yeah, I missed that one.
That is always one matchup, no matter what. I will always cheer for the Jets for Scotty when they play the Patriots, just because of how much he despised the Patriots.
Well, and you'll be able to cheer for him on Monday night this year because that is a Monday.
Well, there we go. Go Jets.
But it's just.
But yeah,
it's strange.
That's an odd schedule because, like you said, that's an odd schedule because they go to the Dolphins, they have their bye week, then they get the Dolphins again.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah.
I mean, that just makes no real sense.
And then who do they have after the Dolphins? Because then they have to finish up their division, don't they, to wrap up the season?
The Raiders, the Seahawks.
Yeah, they have the Patriots.
Yeah.
They have the Patriots in the last week of the season.
Yeah, that's
how they finish their schedule.
Just weird.
I don't think I have ever seen a schedule built quite that way.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
I've never seen you go and play a team.
I have to look. I haven't even seen. I don't even know what the Cardinals schedule is because my
you
son
go
won't
on
want to know that
week
one.
and you come back and play the same team.
I just
weird.
Because it's so unusual, I decided to look up the Dolphins schedule. They have a week 11 bye too, so it's they get the Jets, take a bye, go to the Jets.
Wow, that's interesting.
I guess there's 256 games you got to schedule. We'll kind of make it fit in however we can.
It's true.
Oh man. So, what do we think? I mean, Brady's gone, obviously. I don't see a real dominant team in that division. I mean, you've got Josh Allen leading the Bills, but he can barely throw the ball into the ocean.
I think the rest of the Bills though look good. Their team is pretty loaded.
Miami could
with talent around them.
Yeah. That division's just been such a Patriot driven division for so long. It'll almost be I don't even know how to describe it. It's be weird to not see them win the division again. I don't know that they're going to, but it would be really, really weird not seeing them win. But I mean, Miami's had a decent off season in acquisitions and drafting. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know I really don't know what to expect there. I mean, like you said, the Patriots have won that division I don't know, for the entire lifetime of your children, I think.
Pretty
practically.
close, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Damn near.
Um,
Probably as long as Cooper's been alive for sure.
And I don't really see. I mean, Sam Darnold's fine. They just signed one of my all-time favorite NFL players and an answer to a trivia question in the future. So, years from now, when
Write it down.
you're at a bar trying to win a trivia question, have people name the top 5 rushers in the history of the NFL. No one's going to get Frank Gore. He's currently number 3,
It's true.
and he just signed with the Jets. So,
He's been
you
a
got-
good workhorse for a while.
yeah,
Just steady.
The one run that I remember vividly of Frank Gore's career was when he was with the Niners, and he just had this bull rush run down the right sideline and push people out of the way and stuff, and made a touchdown. It was an amazing run. But he's been around. I mean, he everyone thought he was damaged goods coming out of the University of Miami, and here he is where we are. He's 37 years old, so 16 years later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And just pretty steady. I mean,
So-
not.
Go ahead.
I say he's not like producing his 1,000+ yards every season, but he's just a steady producer.
No, he has an opportunity this year, and I can't remember the exact number, but Marcus Allen at 37 rushed for somewhere between 500 and 600 yards, and he's the oldest back to break 500 yards. If Gore beats that record, he'll become the oldest man to do that.
Wow.
And last year he had 595 yards.
So it's
Or
possible.
something like that.
It's very possible.
Yeah. So, so just in general now, we've talked about some of the schedules out there, and for me, the Vikings, they're going to have an interesting year because they open with the Packers for the first time since 2008,
Oh,
and
wow.
the first time ever to get the Packers at home to open. But I'm not jealous. In
Not at
fact, the
all.
last time they opened it at the Packers, it was 2008. Tavares Jackson was our quarterback, and that was the first year of Aaron Rodgers' starting career. And Tony Kornheiser was in the booth for Monday Night Football. That's how
Oh,
long
wow.
ago.
Wow.
Wow.
Anyway, I went to that game. It's the only game I've been to at Lambeau. But enough about me. But realistically, what do you guys see? And we'll start with John because I feel like we've neglected him. What do you see as far as a reality of the NFL starting up on time, and how do you see their season actually playing out?
I actually see the NFL starting up on time as a good thing. They're basically considered the elephant in the room when it comes to sports. So, I mean, for them to have the thinking that come September, whether there are fans in the stands or not, which we don't know yet, of course,
Mhm.
but we know that they're going to play football. I mean, and that's the thing. We know they're going to play football. We also know that both the NBA and the NHL are now talking about starting their next seasons not till December.
Right.
So, I mean, if that all comes to pass, the NFL and college football, if they play it, they will have September, October, November with just them. I mean, you'll get a little bit of baseball in there, but other than that, football will be the thing that's going on. So that's going to help them. And of course, the NFL playing a normal schedule means normalcy for the sports fans, which we
Yeah.
don't have right now.
No,
But
we need.
what do you think? I mean, as I see it, for that to happen, for them to play it all, we have to have a few things that fall into place. First of all, you got to have the buy-in from the players. which I think is reasonable. The buy-in from the players and the coaches and everybody else involved with it, I think you can get that. I think that's a realistic possibility. But right now, our protocol nationally in every workplace, if somebody tests positive for COVID-19, then there's a 14-day quarantine period that they and everyone they've had close personal contact has to go into. And that, in my job and in your job, John, probably yours, Jana, and Larry, I mean, it's not inconsequential, but it's not devastating. If you put a team down, everybody that a football player had close contact with for 2 weeks, suddenly you've shut the entire league down.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got to contend with injuries. How do you call someone up or bring, do we expand the practice squad? Do we make more people available so that they're part of the inner circle, so that if somebody does get injured, they can move somebody into the place right away? Yeah. And then finally, and I mentioned this earlier, I don't know if you were on, Jana, I one of the first things I caught during the coronavirus outbreak was an Australian rules football game where they were playing to an empty stadium. Half those guys didn't look like they really wanted to be on that field because they were a little bit freaked out. You can't have that in the NFL. And that's the one that would scare me. So
yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think it really
I mean,
well, I know the NFL.
We want the season.
Go ahead, Janet.
But I don't know if it's going to start on time. I don't.
Yeah.
I think they want it to.
Well, I know the NFL just released.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I know the NFL just sent a memo to all the teams, where they can open up the buildings and start doing training camp and stuff. But they have a list of things they have to get done. I mean, they've got to have state and local permission to open and to have more than 10 people there. They have to set up cleaning crews. They've got to have enough cleaning supplies on hand. They have to have a medical staff that has not only the team doctors with it, but they also have to have an infectious specialist heading that team. So I mean, the NFL has pretty much put out there enough guidelines to the teams to be as safe as they can. I mean, we're never going to be 100% safe from this, and we know that. Yeah. There's never going to be 100% safety from this because this illness is going to be around from now on. So, I mean, I think they've put enough eggs in one basket, so to speak, to be just as safe as they can.
The one thing that I saw from another league that I think really applies to all the sports leagues, and I can't remember who said it was. I think it was an NBA player, maybe it was a Major League Baseball player, but they really pointed out the fact that it's going to require extensive testing of the players and of the people that are involved with that. But the testing that they do can't interfere with the access to testing for the general public, or they will lose everybody.
Right.
For sure.
So, I mean, that's one of the things that I think it's going to happen. I originally, maybe about a month ago, maybe less than a month ago. It's hard. All the days bleed together. You guys know that. And since we're on the internet, I'll just use my favorite Janis Joplin quote. It's all the same fucking day, man. But the bottom line is, it's hard to know where this is going to go, and right. without adequate or without adequate, I don't want to say that, without widespread testing available to everybody, it's going to be hard for any of these guys to play. I don't know, Larry, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, my thoughts really, I think the next month is going to start determining what the NFL season is going to be like, because a lot of states and a lot of towns are starting to open back up. Yeah. And they're starting to free up a lot of the restrictions. My town's is opening up some businesses that were considered non-essential.
Mhm.
And Missouri has lightened up some of their restrictions. So if things spike back up at a very heavy point very quickly, then I can see people saying, "No, we got to shut everything down. We can't keep trying to play with this." If things go well and people are respectful of the boundaries, if people do what they're supposed to, and you don't see a big spike in the COVID-19, then you could say, "Well, we're making progress, and we could have a season, and these are the things that we can do to get there." But if you see all of a sudden we've doubled the cases that we've got now in a month, then I think the country looks at this and says, "Nope, we're not going to play around with this anymore. We're done for a while." And I think you missed the rest of the NFL season, basketball season, hockey season. I think is all shut down
Mhm.
for the rest of the year. But we'll see. I'm hopeful, but I also have watched enough people going to Walmart, going to Target, going wherever, not following what they're supposed to do, even in the stores that have restrictions.
Right.
And I understand people are going stir crazy. I get that. I'm working from home and I'm enjoying working from home at one level, but on another level, I miss driving my Mustang. I miss going out and talking to people. I miss social contact with people that aren't my family. So I get it, but I also understand we got to do these things that are important. And if we can't do that as a society, then we're going to lose out on the privileges that we could have with having football, maybe a returning of baseball season, whatever. So I think the next month will determine a lot.
See,
What
and
do you
I'm
think, Jim?
still going into work every day, which is where I was coming home from.
Right.
Um, I have the opportunity, I can work from home. And last week, I actually did work from home Tuesday through Friday because I had a low grade fever. That's one of our protocols. The minute we walk in the door at that reception desk, we have to take our temperature and they have the
Right.
alcohol swabs and all that stuff. And if it's 100.4 or higher, we're supposed to leave. Well, mine was like 99.1 and
Yeah.
people got freaked out. And I
Yeah.
was like, fine, So I worked Monday because we retook it. That was the first day it was like 99. We retook it later when they started freaking out and it was normal. So I stayed. But then all Tuesday, all Wednesday, Thursday was the first day that it was finally like normal again. So I just stayed home all week. But
Yeah.
yeah, same thing. We have people, out here, Arizona never fully shut down. Like, I mean, like as much as some states have, and they're reopening stuff this week, starting I think this
Mhm.
weekend. Barbershops and salons can open. They're allowing some dine in if they have, cut the capacity, keep the social distancing guidelines. So some of the restaurants are going to start opening up. And it'll be interesting to see. I know there's some hope that the heat will kill off the
Mhm.
virus. I'm anal. I work in accounting. I deal with numbers. I have a spreadsheet that I've had for since March that every day I track the Arizona numbers and the national numbers, the cases and the deaths. I've not seen that. There's a little decline, but I haven't seen that huge decline yet. And we're starting to open up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, and I agree with you. I will say that in Minnesota, a lot of our recent increases are, and I think this is true across a lot of states, is because of the increased number of tests being conducted.
Right.
Right,
But
right.
but like you, um, I mean, I don't know how I got designated this, and if you're looking at me on this video, you won't understand either. But I'm an essential worker, so I go into work every day too, and my wife is a far more essential worker than I am. So we've been very fortunate. We have not missed any paychecks. We've not missed any work
Yeah,
hours,
Right.
and we get to leave the house every day.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, it's a blessing and a curse to a certain degree. But the bottom line is, I mean, we are still at the very beginning of this. The whole idea in Minnesota, at least, and I can't speak for your states, but in Minnesota, at least, the whole idea of flattening the curve is with the understanding that our peak is not going to hit until July. So we're still ramping up, and we know it. But I'll also say that there's a nursing home, a senior care facility, I guess is the more appropriate term these days. But there's a senior care facility that's a half mile from my house where it was reported last week they had 47 deaths and 130 cases.
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't even know they had that many people there.
Right.
Well, and
So-
that kills me because they're supposed to have such strict protocols. They're supposed to be limiting contact, and at least out here, like if you have a family member in a senior care facility, you pretty much can't freaking see them.
Right.
And so
that's
when
what-
there's all
that's
these
true here.
cases coming in, I'm like, how is that even happening?
Well, I'll tell you how it's happening. The staff work at more than one facility.
Hmm.
I mean, in some cases, that's where they've traced it to. You know, and it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because once it gets into something like that, it's like being in the meat packing plants. It's like being in New York City. The population density is so tightly packed that it's going to spread from one person to another. And unfortunately, in a situation like that, there are so many vulnerable people that once it spreads, it becomes very deadly very quickly.
Yeah.
So, but let's not end on a downer. Because we are getting close to the end of this. I do want to say I've had a lot more fun with this than I thought I would.
Good.
So thank you for inviting me, Larry.
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
This is a Sports Jabber radio, video, whatever. And I've been fortunate enough to work with these folks for a long time. It's always great talking with you guys and seeing you guys. And I think we should do this again with and just get the round table together occasionally and talk about whatever sports topics there are to talk about. We didn't even get into the idea of what's going to happen with college football in the fall.
Oh,
You know,
I know.
how smart the planners of Wimbledon were to take out pandemic insurance. I mean, come on.
Did
have
they
to be the
really?
smartest people. Yeah, they spent $32 million in the past 8 years. They spent $32 million on pandemic insurance. So when they canceled in March and it surprised everybody, it's because they got a $141 million payout.
Wow.
Who are the smartest people in the room? I mean, really.
The Wimbledon people. There we go.
Yeah.
I will give
Darn
them all that
British.
credit.
Yeah,
Damn
that
those
was.
Brits.
I was just astounded by that.
Yeah.
But you think about the way it works and stuff. But we should do this again. And,
Yeah.
And so let's kind of think about somewhere down the road, and maybe we'll invite some other people. We'll continue to invite other people, and if I can be here, I would love to. But I think it's a great idea. So Larry Lytle, Jana Flory, and John Tesler. I think this is a good place to end. We've been on about an hour.
Sounds great.
Sounds
All right,
good.
guys.
It was a lot of fun.
Sounds good to
Thanks,
me.
It was.
thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Ta-ta from Minnesota.
Bye from
All right,
Virginia.
Merry Christmas versus the Saints for me.